Nitish Kumar's JDU and Chandrababu Naidu's TDP, whose support is crucial to the BJP at the centre, have not been placated very much via ministry positions. So, the widespread expectation is that the two parties have been promised financial bonanza for their states. Now, how will this be provided is what we are discussing today. First, a brief background. Taxes are shared between the centre and the states as per formulas designed by the finance commissions appointed every 5 years. But in the past, the finance commissions had a special category status states, mostly tribal and backward states, who were given central grants for projects designed by the planning commission. These special states were all the northeastern states, Manipur, Mizoram, etc., plus some hilly states like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. However, the 14th Finance Commission decreased the assistance through the Planning Commission and central schemes. Instead, it increased the state's share in taxes from 32% to 42%. Thereafter, the advantages of being a special category state decreased. So, how will Andhra and Bihar be financially rewarded now? Will the special category status states be revived by the current 16th Finance Commission, or will the two states just demand special packages from the centre, from the annual budget that's about to be presented? Or is there a third or a fourth way? To discuss this, I have with me Dr. Jyothsna Tirunagari, the national spokesperson for the TDP. And I have with me three economists who have been with the Finance Commission: Dr. Rathin, who was economic advisor to the 13th Finance Commission; Pinaki, Chakraborty, member of the Advisory Council to the 15th Finance Commission; and Dr. Govinda, who was member himself of the 14th Finance Commission. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time. Gentlemen and Jyothsna. Jyothsna, actually, let me start with you. What are you all going to ask the centre? Will it be special category status revived, or will it be something else?
See, definitely, we have to first look into the state finances. What's happening with the state finances? Yesterday, when we had our new cabinet take oath, after that, there was a small discussion with our party supremo and the chief minister of the state of Andhra Pradesh. All the ministers had a meeting with him, and there it was decided that initially we would, look into each and every ministry, each and every department, and try and release a white paper as to where what is the position financially for that particular department. That's important, because we do not know for the past 5 years what has happened with every department. To be very honest, the state of Andhra Pradesh requires financial support. The state, but up to what extent, and up to what, whether it is an immediate financial support that we are requiring or expecting, or probably some now and some for a long standing thing.
Okay.
We have to figure out all these things, and it would take probably a week or so to check all the things, because as I said, nothing was there. We do not have anything in hand.
Okay.
And our major focus, again, I've mentioned several times earlier also, our major focus again remains in the development of Amaravati as the capital of the state of Andhra Pradesh, and fast completion of Polavaram, because which is very, very important for the development of the state of Andhra Pradesh.
Okay, I get that, Jyothsna ji. We have from the CAG, last year's CAG report, some data on how much money was given for the city of Amaravati. I'll come to that in just a minute. But let me first get out the special category status first. Let me get to the person who was in the latest Finance Commission, Dr. Chakraborty. Dr. Chakraborty, this special category status states, is that now an anachronism? Is there any point in either of the states asking for that status?
I think there are 3-4 issues as far as special and non-special category state is concerned. I think special and non-special category states distinction may not be very relevant after the abolition of Planning Commission and introduction of GST. Industry-specific tax exemptions have been withdrawn after the introduction of GST. So, being a special category state, a state may not really gain just because the status is given to a state. Abolition of Planning Commission also resulted in significant reduction in the central assistance in the form of additional central assistance, special plan grants. But as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned, I think two issues are very important. State has been bifurcated, and there is a cost involved uh, that needs to be actually provided for.
Okay.
And if we look at the 14th and 15th Finance Commission report, the state was provided a revenue deficit grant, which was not provided to the United Andhra Pradesh. But I think capital expenditure requirement is there. So an appropriate assessment of that need and the resolution of that would be important.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, actually, the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act does have a provision for special financial help, which apparently a bit of it was given for the city of Amaravati. But we understand from the CAG reports that the questions posed on the DPR, the detailed plan report, were not answered by the state government, and therefore subsequent funds were not provided, and therefore there are half-built, construction sites, is what we gather from the CAG reports. But Dr. Govinda Rao, can special status be revived? It died with the Planning Commission, so to speak, and your commission, 14th Finance Commission. But can it be revived?
Finance Commission did not discriminate did not make a distinction between special and non-special category states. By the time the Finance Commission deliberated, the Planning Commission was abolished. So
Yes.
obviously they had to take into account. And the terms of reference to the 14th Finance Commission wanted them to take into account both plan and non-plan requirements.
Okay.
And therefore, obviously it had to subsume what the Planning Commission was giving. To that extent, special category states were impacted. But then, as Pinaki said, we did make assessment of revenue deficit. That means that, revenue receipts and revenue deficit. And the commission clearly said that every state is a special state for us. So we look at basically both the revenue capacity and expenditure needs, and then give the transfers. Now, no, the problem with Andhra Pradesh now is that there is a huge fiscal problem. Their fiscal deficit their revenue deficit estimated for 22-23 is somewhere about 3.2% of GDP, 3.3. And the fiscal deficit is 4.4. Commensurately, the capital expenditure is just about 1.3% of GDP. And you see that their debt levels are 33%, and interest payment to revenue ratio is huge. So it's, the freebies have been given over a period of time so that they have a huge fiscal problem. Apart from that, just to mention about the 2014 reorganization, see, in addition to Amaravati, there was also a provision for meeting the revenue expenditure of 2013-14, the year when the state was divided. But the state's complaint was that adequate provision was not made to compensate them for the revenue expenditure in that year. So there was a lot of problem, but now with this, we have to see how they will go about. There is no advantage of the additional major advantage of being a special category state. They have to basically ask for major central projects in the state.
Okay. Jyothsna, what will your, is there any idea as to whether you will wait for the Finance Commission or expect something from the government in the current budget itself? It will take time for the money to come via Finance Commission. What are your demands for this year? Because, that will affect the budget. That's why I'm asking you. It's something the markets want to know. Would you want something from the budget?
Definitely. We want an immediate support from the this budget that we are having.
Okay.
I think we'll definitely put forward, as I said, probably a week or so, we'll have a fair enough idea as to what is the immediate support that we require.
Okay.
So that's not something that we that would be huge or something like that. But yes, we have to sustain and we have to probably run the show.
Yeah.
So definitely we would require from some support, some basic support that we are calling.
Okay.
And uske baad then we'll decide.
How do you define basic? How many, is it 1,000 crores, 5,000 crores? Just an idea as to what are we looking at?
See, ideally, honestly, what's happened is truly the financial condition of the state of Andhra Pradesh, nobody knows. I doubt even if the ex-finance minister would also know.
Madam, actually, your numbers are better than Bihar, by the way. There is more clarity. Dr. Rathin Roy, we just lost you. The conversation so far has been special status has kind of become an anachronism. And as Jyothsna says, they are in need of immediate money, which has to come from the budget, can't wait for the 16th Finance Commission. Do you think the demands of Andhra can weigh on the current budget?
Well, it's a very easy question to answer. There is nothing in the terms of reference as they stand of the 16th Finance Commission that required them to give any special packages or anything of the sort. These are very good terms of reference because they're very opening.
Yeah.
So unless the government inserts something specific to Andhra and Bihar, I would advise these states not to hope for too much from the Finance Commission.
Okay.
Second question comes is one on welfare. So what has happened in the last government, the YSR CP government, is that essentially they maxed out on a number of welfare schemes, which proves surprisingly unattractive electorally to them. Mr. Naidu has made a commitment that he will maintain these welfare schemes. In fact, add on a few more. If that happens, then that is not going to be fiscally sustainable, even with very generous borrowing relaxations from the central government. On top of that, then you're talking about capital expenditure. And this is going to be a very difficult fiscal ask, because I want to make a slightly political point here. This government, for now, has no friends in South India. This is the only NDA government in South India. So you're not going to get the automatic cooperative spirit that you would normally see between the southern states. Given that, it is going to be very difficult for a government where the largest single parties are minority to provide generous resources that are eye-catching, forget eye-watered in the first budget. Now comes the second issue, where I think, which if I'm not mistaken, perhaps TDP spokesperson could correct me, is the reason why Mr. Naidu actually left the NDA, the second time he left the NDA, just before he rejoined the NDA, which was that there was a promise made to provide an adequate amount of assistance to the Andhra Pradesh state for inter-area building of the capital, and also, frankly, to compensate to some extent for the loss of economic activity and revenue that came from the sort of removal of its biggest city, Hyderabad. That promise, I was slightly involved with, in the sense I was part of a committee which calculated the size of that package. And in today's terms, that package would come to about 4 lakh crores. 4 lakh crores would be what the TDP government could legitimately expect from the rest of India for this. Now, it is not going to come from the Finance Commission unless there's a change in the terms of reference and the other states will then have something to see about. So it will have to come from the government budget.
Okay.
So there are two questions here. Will it come? And if it doesn't come, then what is going to happen? Because there has been no explicit ask from Mr. Naidu for a special package which is posted and presented to the sector. I presume that is what the TDP spokesperson is referring to, that there will be a package that will be asked for in lakh crore rupees. And I can assure you it will be in lakh crore rupees. The only question that's negotiable then, if the government does say yes, is one of timing. And then the more specific, I think the AP government's plans are for how to use that money. And I think that the spokesperson was fairly specific. The more credible would be the enablement rollout the package, which finally, the one joker in the pack, which is, are you going to give the same amount of money to Bihar?
Yes.
And if you are, then I would very much like to see what the fiscal arithmetic is.
No, I completely agree with you that giving a large package via the Finance Commission will require all states to be equally treated. So wouldn't Bihar, with a lower per capita income, demand something more? And will other even poorer states, therefore, stake their claims even higher? Those questions, I will have to take a commercial break, those questions after the break. Welcome back. We've been discussing fiscal federalism and the challenges posed to it by the states of Andhra Pradesh and Bihar, which now have a political clout to demand a larger package. But how will it be worked in the overall contours of the Finance Commission and the annual budget? I've been speaking with Jyothsna Tirunagari, the spokesperson, national spokesperson of the TDP, and economists and former Finance Commission members, Dr. Rathin, Pinaki, Chakraborty, and Govinda Rao. Well, Dr. Govinda Rao, is it possible for the Finance Commission to be partial to two states? Or will they have to, give money on some, neutral ground, like economic development, etc. Within their contours, can they actually design a special package for these two states?
No, I'm afraid not. In fact, the Finance Commission has to treat all the states on an equal footing. They have to look at the revenue capacities and expenditure needs of the states, and based on that, they have to make their recommendations. And I do not know even, whether, tax devolution is done on the basis of some broad indicators. But if they give the revenue deficit grants, then obviously they have to work out the capacities and needs on a uniform basis. So even for the central government to arbitrarily give money for specific for some purposes may not be that feasible, and obviously there will be problems. This type of asymmetric arrangement can create problems. What the union government can do is to sort of handhold the state government in taking over a number of other schemes. For example, sort of their own central government expenditures on major projects, possibly can be increased. There is also one other problem. Andhra Pradesh not only has a bad fiscal situation, the election promises, that Super 6 election promises that were made, like 300 rupees per month for unemployed youth, 3 gas cylinders, free bus travel, 20,000 rupees seed capital. All these things are going to take a heavy toll. So I am not very certain that, in the union budget this year, this next budget to be present next month, they may make some provision for additional, expenditures on Polavaram, capital city, and some of the major other, sort of central projects. But I'm afraid giving, financial assistance for specific, sort of state may be difficult.
Oh, yeah, because a lot of the southern states, even Karnataka has made a lot of welfare promises. Perhaps Andhra's is a little more. But Dr. Chakraborty, can the centre, can the Finance Commission give a higher revenue deficit? That is their big problem. If they do that, then Kerala also becomes an additional beneficiary. Is that a likely route that the Finance Commission can take? Just one-time adjustment of revenue deficit?
Finance Commission probably cannot do that because the way Finance Commission estimates revenue deficit fund principle is uniform. So there is no discrimination in assessing a particular state's revenue deficit. But what is important here to recognize the fact that United Andhra Pradesh never received a revenue deficit grant. But when Andhra Pradesh was bifurcating, 14th Finance Commission in recent history will be the first Finance Commission which had given a revenue deficit grant. In 15th Finance Commission also, Andhra was eligible for a revenue deficit grant. My sense is even in the 16th, the way the revenue deficit grant has been calculated, Andhra may become eligible for a revenue deficit grant. But what I am more concerned about is Andhra's rising capital expenditure need because the state has been bifurcated. The new capital city is being developed, and there are other investments required for a new state. So that kind of an expenditure, if Andhra has to do it, say through a grant or through higher borrowing, should be considered.
No. If you can put extra money in a gift city, surely you can treat Amaravati also on a similar plane, can't you, Dr. Chakraborty?
Well, in that context, I think the point Rathin made and Dr. Rao made, I think for a finance commission to make an asymmetric arrangement for Bihar and Andhra will be very difficult. It's not feasible. So we have to look at the feasibility.
So it has to come from the budget, you're saying. That becomes a national concern if the fiscal deficit rises. That's why I'm asking.
No, there are two issues. I think if it has to come from the budget, it has to have two different approaches. The first is one has to look at how I would say the public financial management in the last 5 or 10 years has resulted in increase in revenue deficit, and some of the increase in deficit is because the state was bifurcated and there was an extra cost. So unless we have an understanding of how much is because of the bifurcation, how much is because of the fiscal management or mismanagement, I think we would really know how much money is still required for addressing the issue of bifurcation and as additional resources.
Okay. Going by these arguments that all three of you made, Rathin, do you think the budget has to bear this deficit? Is there some unspecified burden? We are all going by the 5.1% fiscal deficit for the centre. Can that be higher because of the help they may give the two states?
I mean, it doesn't, it really depends on the duration of or how the package is rolled out, doesn't it?
Okay.
I mean, again, this is the problem with how we do budgeting in India. If we had a rolling medium-term expenditure framework or a medium-term fiscal framework, then we could have reasonably rolled out the package in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay. And frankly, I think 4 lakh crores is affordable for Andhra Pradesh alone. Whether that money will come as in a guaranteed fashion or not, we don't know. And let us say that a consequence of this happening is perhaps a 1 to 1.2% increase in the fiscal deficit. Well, all the government has to do to deal with that is to improve its own competence at the center. It has been notoriously incompetent in doing disinvestment. It has therefore moderated its targets to match its incompetence. If it is able to raise its game there, then a transfer of let's say collectively half that amount is possible without affecting the fiscal deficit. Okay. So I don't think the question is one of affordability. The question is one of the competence of the central government's fiscal management to deal with its political promise. Okay. But lest people think that either Andhra Pradesh or Bihar has any ability to blackmail the government, let me assure you they don't. Okay. Because if they do leave the government and the government falls because they don't get a package immediately, then there is no guarantee that anybody else is going to offer them a package.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And, both parties will have to move in unison for the government to fall. So that's not anybody's base case. We have a stable government for the moment, for sure. Jyothsna ji, we
have a stable government in the next budget. Yeah. And there is no reason for anyone is not going to inflate that budget so soon. Yeah. And therefore, I don't think you're going to see anything dramatic happening.
Yeah. So the bargaining, what you're saying is the bargaining power is therefore, restrained by the fact that there's no plan B for the states of Bihar and Andhra. I take your point on that. Jyothsna ji, we have all been battling some numbers, 4 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore. I know you're going to once again tell me we have not yet got the numbers, there are no numbers. Just tell us whether we are discussing the correct figure or at least the range is right. You're looking at 4 lakh to 5 lakh crore?
See, definitely. When,
no, yes or no, madam?
No. Listen. Let me complete my point.
Sure.
Because what Rathin sir told was, I think that was the last number. It's an old number, sir, if I'm not wrong, Rathin sir. Old number. So obviously, for the past 5 years, it should have been increased.
No. I took the number that we recommended in 2014 and I blew it up to today's with today's price levels. So 4.5 lakh crores is what I got.
Adjusted for inflation from 2014.
Yeah. 4.5.
Probably, I think I'll have to say yes on that, because probably a little bit here and there, because that's the situation. There's nothing, I can't say that, no, that's not the case. Okay, I can't say. Okay. But yes, there are a lot of ways how we are going to manage that.
Sure.
And again, we have, I think, a very, very, very sincere and seasoned politician as the Chief Minister of the state of Andhra Pradesh, a very proven politician, I would say, a proven leader and administrator. So definitely we'll be able to manage a lot of things along with this.
Sure. I'm sure you can. Actually, there are 3 seasoned politicians who are now going to debate. You can't doubt the seasoned quality of Nitish Kumar, Narendra Modi and Chandrababu Naidu. So the tussle will be interesting. Out of time, Dr. Rao, Dr. Chakraborty, Rathin and Jyothsna, thank you very much indeed for joining us. 3 key takeaways. 1, Finance Commission has to give money, divide money on neutral ground. It can't give a special package for a state like Andhra Pradesh, whose per capita income is higher than that of the nation itself, the national average. So it has to be on neutral ground. The second key takeaway, the budget will have to perhaps do some of the heavy lifting, but we will have to see whether that will impinge on the deficit. That remains a worry for me. And the third one, we must not run away that the states have extraordinary bargaining clout, because if they don't get from NDA, they're not going to get from any other party either, any other coalition either. So let's not run away with any political, hazardous conclusions. This is a stable coalition and something will be worked out by, as Jyothsna said, the 3 seasoned politicians. With that, we wrap up on Indianomics. Thank you for watching.